I noticed it by accident, a tiny red dot blinking inside the smoke detector. At first, I told myself it was nothing, a sensor, a reflection. But when I stood on a chair and looked closer, I saw a lens, a camera pointed directly at my bed. I didn't scream, I didn't call the police, I didn't tell anyone, I stayed silent. Because if someone was watching me, I wanted to know why. And then, 3 days later, my daughter said something at dinner, just one sentence, that proved the camera was never meant for me. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and tell us where you're listening from in the comments. My name is Jonathan Hale. I'm 64 years old, and I live in Madison, Wisconsin. I thought the hardest part of my life was raising a daughter alone after her mother died. I was wrong. The hardest part was realizing someone inside my own home knew my private life better than I did. The smoke detector was still there when I checked again that night. I waited until the house went quiet, until the refrigerator stopped humming, until the floorboards stopped settling, until the walls felt like they were listening. Then I pulled the chair back under the hallway ceiling and climbed up. The red dot was faint now, almost shy. I reached up slowly, my heart pounding hard enough that I could feel it in my throat. I twisted the plastic cover gently, just enough to peek inside. The lens stared back at me. No mistaking it this time. Not a reflection, not a sensor, not imagination. A tiny black camera embedded where a battery should have been. I climbed down and stood there for a long moment, staring at the chair like it had betrayed me. Someone had installed this, someone tall enough, someone calm enough. Someone who knew the house well enough to do it without being noticed. And whoever it was had chosen that spot carefully. The hallway smoke detector didn't just cover the hallway. It captured the living room, the kitchen entrance, and if the bedroom door was open, my bed. I sat down slowly on the couch, my legs suddenly weak. My mind ran through possibilities like a broken reel. A stranger, a repairman, a landlord. No, I owned the house. I hadn't had anyone inside for months, except one person, my daughter, Emily. She was 22 now, still living with me while she finished school. Quiet, private, always on her phone, always wearing headphones. I shook my head immediately. No, not her. That thought felt wrong, disloyal, cruel, but the camera didn't care about my feelings. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, fully aware of the lens above the hallway ceiling, imagining its view, wondering if it was recording, streaming, storing, watching. I kept my breathing slow, measured as if someone were listening for it. The next morning I acted normal. I made coffee. I read the news. I asked Emily about her classes. She answered without looking up from her phone. Fine, she said, same as always, but something was different. She knew when I woke up. She commented on it casually like it meant nothing. You were up early, she said. Did you sleep okay? I froze for half a second too long. Yeah, I said. Why? She shrugged. Just asking. But she didn't look confused. She didn't look curious. She looked certain. That afternoon, I tested something. I left the house and drove to the hardware store. I bought a second smoke detector, same model, same color. I told the cashier it was for peace of mind. When I got home, I went straight to the garage and locked the door behind me. I swapped the detectors, carefully, quietly. I wrapped the original one, the one with the camera, in an old towel and placed it inside a sealed toolbox. Then I reinstalled the fake. From the outside, nothing looked different. From the inside, everything was. That night, I did something else. I lied. At dinner, I said casually, I'm thinking about going away for a few days next week. Maybe visit Uncle Mark. Emily looked up immediately. How long? She asked. Not sure, I said. Maybe 3 nights. She nodded. Too fast. Oh, okay. She didn't ask why, didn't ask when. Just nodded and went back to her phone. Later that night, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I didn't answer. A minute later, another buzz. Same number, then a text. Trip sounds nice. Be safe. My blood went cold. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering. I hadn't told anyone about the trip. Not Mark, not friends, not family, just Emily, and whoever was watching that camera. I didn't reply. Instead, I sat in the dark living room, listening to the soft sounds of the house, the hum of electricity, the distant whoosh of a passing car. And upstairs, the faint creak of floorboards, Emily moving in her room. I looked up at the ceiling, at the fake detector, and imagined the moment someone realized the feed had gone dark. Who would notice first? That was when I made my decision. I wasn't going to confront anyone, not yet. If someone was spying, they would eventually make a mistake. People always do. The next day, I changed my routine. I left at odd hours. I turned lights on and off randomly. I spoke aloud in rooms I knew were in view. "I'll be home late," I said once loudly, even though no one was around. That evening, Emily asked, "Are you working late tonight?" I looked at her carefully. "Why?" I asked. She shrugged again. "Just curious, curious." That word started to feel dangerous. 2 days later it happened. We were eating dinner, quiet, forks scraping against plates. Emily suddenly laughed. It wasn't loud. It wasn't forced, it just slipped out. I looked up. "What?" I asked. She froze. "Nothing," she said quickly, but her face had changed. Her eyes widened slightly, like she'd said something she wasn't supposed to say. I waited. She looked down at her plate, then she said it, soft, casual, unthinking. "You should really close your bedroom door when you sleep." My heart slammed so hard I thought I might pass out. I kept my face neutral, calm. "Why?" I asked. She hesitated. "Just privacy," she said. "You know." But her hands were shaking, just slightly, barely noticeable, except I noticed everything now, because that sentence told me something terrifying. She knew what the camera could see, and whatever she was involved in, she didn't mean to reveal it. She slipped. After she said it, neither of us spoke. The words sat between us like a live wire. "You should really close your bedroom door when you sleep." She tried to recover. I could see it happening in real time, her eyes dropping, her shoulders shifting, her fork scraping too loudly against the plate. I forced myself to chew, to swallow, to keep my breathing steady. "Yeah," I said finally. "Old habit, I forget." She nodded too quickly. "Yeah, me too, me too." I almost laughed at that. Almost. We finished dinner in silence. When she stood up to take her plate to the sink, I watched her reflection in the darkened window. Her posture was tense, like she was bracing for something. For me to say more, I didn't. That night, I didn't go to bed. I waited. I turned off the lights in the living room and sat in the dark, listening. The house sounded different now that I knew it might be watching me back. At 11:47 p.m., Emily's bedroom door opened. Soft footsteps on the stairs, careful, slow. She paused halfway down like she was listening for my breathing. I stayed perfectly still. She came into the kitchen, opened the fridge, then closed it without taking anything. I heard a drawer slide open, then close, then silence. Minutes passed. Then I heard something I hadn't heard in years, a faint electronic click, like a device powering on. My chest tightened. I counted slowly, 10 seconds, 20, 30. Then I heard her go back upstairs. Her door closed. I didn't move for another 15 minutes. When I finally stood, my knees felt weak. I walked to the hallway and stared up at the smoke detector, the fake one I'd installed. No red dot, nothing, which meant whatever she turned on wasn't that camera. She had something else. I went to the garage and opened the toolbox where I'd sealed the real detector. I didn't take it out yet. I just stared at it. That thing had been watching me, but it wasn't the only eye in the house. The next morning, I pretended everything was normal. I made pancakes. I asked about her classes. I even joked about her always being on her phone. She smiled, laughed, played along too well. After she left for school, I finally opened the toolbox. I disassembled the detector carefully. Inside, behind the lens, I found a tiny SD card. I held it between my fingers like it might burn me. I didn't own a device that could read it, and even if I did, I wasn't sure I wanted to see what it contained. So instead, I did something else. I drove to the public library. I chose a computer in the back corner, one with privacy screens on either side. I slid the SD card into the slot and waited. The folder opened immediately. Dates, times, clips, hundreds of them. Short videos, 30 seconds each, some longer, all labeled automatically. I clicked the first one. The screen filled with my living room, me on the couch, reading, scratching my head, existing. The angle was perfect, clear, intentional. I clicked another, me asleep, bedroom door open. The hallway light casting a line across the floor. I closed the laptop. My hands were shaking. I sat there staring at the screen, trying not to draw attention to myself. Someone had cataloged my life, not just once, not just recently, for months. I scrolled again, this time just looking at the timestamps. The camera had been installed for at least 7 months. 7 months of my daughter watching me sleep, or someone else watching us both. I drove home in a fog. That afternoon, I tested another lie. I called Emily and said I might sell the house. She paused. "Why?" she asked. "Too big," I said. "Too quiet." Another pause. "That's sudden. I've been thinking about it," I replied. "Might talk to a realtor." She said nothing for a long moment. Then, "Let's talk about it later." Not "we'll talk, let's talk." As if it was already a negotiation. That night, I searched her room. I hated myself for it, but fear has a way of erasing rules. I waited until she went out with friends. I watched her location leave the house on my phone, then I went upstairs. Her room was tidy, too tidy, bed made, desk clear, laptop gone. I checked the closet, just clothes. Then I opened the bottom drawer of her dresser. Inside was a small black pouch. Electronics, chargers, cables, an extra phone, a burner. My stomach dropped. I powered it on. No lock. The Messages app was open. Recent conversation, unsaved contact. The last message sent. He noticed the door thing, be more careful. I scrolled up. Photos, screenshots, short clips. From inside my house, from the camera. And then another message, newer than the rest. If he sells, we lose everything. I put the phone back exactly where it was. I sat on her bed and pressed my palms into the mattress to stop the shaking. My daughter wasn't just aware of the camera. She was coordinating with someone who cared about the house. Someone who had a reason to watch me, and whatever that reason was, it was big enough for her to betray me. That night, I didn't sleep. I waited again. At 1:13 a.m., I heard the click. This time, I followed it, slowly, barefoot. I stood at the top of the stairs and watched as Emily stepped into the hallway. She reached up not to the smoke detector, but to the air vent near the ceiling. She pressed something inside. A tiny green light blinked once, then off. She stood there for a moment, staring down the hallway, staring toward my bedroom. Then she whispered, barely audible but clear enough to cut through me, "He's still here." She turned and went back to her room. I stayed frozen in the dark. Because now I knew something worse than being watched. Someone was reporting on me, and the next move wasn't mine anymore. I didn't confront her. That was the hardest part. Every instinct in me screamed to storm into her room, demand answers, pull the truth out by force if I had to. She was my daughter. I had raised her, changed her diapers, sat through fevers and nightmares and heartbreaks, and now she was whispering about me in the dark. He's still here. I spent the rest of that night sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the same coffee mug until the sky outside began to lighten. My thoughts kept circling one question: who was we? If he sells, we lose everything. That sentence echoed in my head again and again. Lose what? The house, money, access. By morning, I had a plan, not a good one, but the only one that didn't end with handcuffs or a shattered family. I was going to let her think I didn't know. I made breakfast, eggs, toast, same as always. Emily came down around 8, hair tied back, hoodie pulled tight around her shoulders. She looked tired, nervous. She avoided my eyes. "Morning," she said. "Morning," I replied. I forced myself to smile. "I've been thinking about that house thing," I said casually, flipping an egg. "Maybe I'll wait, no rush." Her shoulders relaxed just a fraction. "Yeah," she said. "That makes sense, too much sense." After she left for class, I started my own investigation. I walked through the house slowly, deliberately, like someone seeing it for the first time. I checked vents, light fixtures, outlets. I found 2 more devices, one behind the living room vent, one inside the thermostat housing, both tiny, both powered, both professionally installed. This wasn't something a college student did on a whim. Someone had access, tools, money, and then I noticed something else. The attic hatch. The screws had been removed and replaced recently. The wood around the edges was scuffed. Someone had been up there. I climbed the ladder slowly, my heart pounding. The attic smelled like dust and insulation. I pushed aside boxes of old clothes and holiday decorations. In the far corner, behind a stack of insulation rolls, I found it. A small black router, hardwired, blinking steadily. My house wasn't just being watched, it was being run. I unplugged nothing, touched nothing. I climbed back down and sat on the floor, my back against the wall, breathing hard. Whoever was behind this had turned my home into a surveillance hub, and my daughter was helping them. That afternoon, I did something I never thought I would do. I followed her. I parked across the street from her campus and waited. When she came out, she didn't head toward the bus stop or her usual cafe. She walked 3 blocks south and entered a building I didn't recognize. Old brick, no sign, just a frosted glass door. I waited 5 minutes, then 10, then I got out of the car and followed. Inside the building was quiet, too quiet. A long hallway, several closed doors. At the end, one door stood open. I heard voices, Emily's voice, and another. A man, older, calm, confident. "I told you," he was saying. "As long as he stays, everything's fine." "I know," Emily replied, "but he's suspicious. I slipped last night." My chest tightened. "You need to be careful," the man said. "This only works if he feels safe." Safe. I leaned closer to the door, my heart hammering. "What happens if he finds out?" Emily asked. There was a pause. Then the man said, "Then we move faster." I stepped back before they could see me. I left the building and sat in my car, my hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles hurt. We moved faster. That wasn't a phrase you used about family. That evening, I decided to force a mistake. At dinner, I said, "I met with a realtor today." Emily froze. "What?" she said. "Just talked," I added. Nothing official, but I liked the idea of a fresh start. Her fork clattered against her plate. "I thought you said you were waiting," she said, her voice tight. "I was," I said. Then I changed my mind. She stood up abruptly. "I need some air," she muttered. She went outside. I waited 30 seconds, then I followed quietly. She was on the phone in the backyard, pacing. "He's selling," she whispered urgently. "I don't know how he found out, but he is." A pause, then, "No, he didn't say when, but soon." Another pause, her voice dropped. "I know what you said." "I know, he's my dad." My throat tightened. "Yes," she continued. "I understand, I'll handle it." The call ended. She turned and saw me standing there. We stared at each other. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "How long were you listening?" "Long enough," I replied. Her face crumpled. "I didn't want it to be like this," she said. "Then why is it?" I asked quietly. She shook her head, tears filling her eyes. "You don't understand," she said. "This house, it's not just a house." "I think it is," I said. "And I think someone convinced you otherwise." She looked away. "They said if I helped, you'd be protected," she whispered. "Protected from what?" I asked. She didn't answer. "She just said, you need to trust me, please." I wanted to. God, I wanted to, but trust had already been broken. That night, I locked my bedroom door for the first time. At 2:04 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number, one message. "We know you followed her." My blood ran cold. A second message followed. "This is your last chance to stay quiet." I stared at the screen, my heart pounding, because now it wasn't just about watching. It was about control, and I was running out of time. I didn't reply to the message. I stared at it until the screen dimmed, then placed the phone face down on the nightstand like it might infect the room if I kept looking. "This is your last chance to stay quiet." Those words weren't a threat made in anger. They were calculated. Which meant whoever sent them had already decided what would happen next if I didn't cooperate. I lay awake until dawn, listening to the house breathe. At 6:11 a.m., Emily knocked on my bedroom door. Soft, careful, the way you knock when you're afraid of what's on the other side. "Dad," she said, "can we talk?" I unlocked the door and opened it. She looked smaller than she had the day before. Eyes red, hoodie sleeves pulled over her hands like armor. She stepped inside and sat on the edge of the bed. "I know you're scared," she said. "But this isn't what you think." "Then tell me what it is," I replied. She hesitated. "They said this house is part of something bigger," she said slowly. "That it's valuable, financially?" I asked. She shook her head. "Historically." That word made my stomach twist. "Explain." She took a deep breath. "Before Mom died," she said, someone approached her. A man. He said the house was built on top of something important. Records, documents. Something buried when the neighborhood was developed. I stared at her. "You're telling me strangers came to your mother with a treasure story?" "They weren't strangers," Emily said quickly. "They had proof, old maps, city records. They knew things about the house, about renovations that were never filed." My pulse quickened. "And instead of calling the police," I said, she listened. "She didn't trust the police," Emily whispered. "They told her if the house changed ownership, everything would be lost. That once it sold, whatever was hidden would legally belong to someone else." "That's ridiculous," I said. "Is it?" she shot back. "You never questioned how fast the permits went through when we remodeled the basement, or why certain contractors were recommended." My mouth went dry. There had been a contractor, years ago, who insisted on doing parts of the work himself, who refused to let me help, who'd worked late into the night. I had trusted him because my wife had. "Mom believed them," Emily continued. "She believed if she protected the house, she was protecting us. And after she died," I asked. "They came back," Emily said quietly. "They said the agreement passed to me." I laughed then, a sharp, bitter sound. "So you installed cameras, spied on me, let strangers monitor our lives," her eyes filled with tears. "They said it was temporary, that they only needed to know if you planned to sell. And if I did," I asked. She looked down. "They said they'd step in." "Step in how?" She shook her head. I didn't ask. That was the moment I realized how deep this had gone. She wasn't just being manipulated, she was being controlled. That afternoon, I pretended to agree. "I won't sell," I said. "I promise." Relief flooded her face. "Thank you," she said, standing. "I'll tell them." "No," I said calmly. "Don't." She paused. "I want to speak to them myself," I said. "Whoever they are," her eyes widened. "They won't like that." I don't care, I said. This is my house. She hesitated, then nodded slowly. I'll arrange it. That night they came, not together. One at a time, a man knocked at the front door just after sunset. Mid-50s, clean-cut, polite smile, expensive coat. I'm Daniel, he said, extending a hand. Thank you for agreeing to meet. I didn't shake it. You put cameras in my house, I said. Start talking. He smiled thinly. We protected your home, he corrected. From becoming something else. What was it before? I asked. His eyes flicked toward the hallway, toward the walls. A record, he said. Of things that were never meant to be public. Then make them public, I said. Whatever they are. His smile faded. You don't understand, he said. If those documents surface, a lot of people get hurt, people who are very much alive. Then you should have thought about that before spying on a grieving family, I snapped. He sighed. You were never supposed to find the camera. I did, I said, and now you're leaving. Not yet, he replied. First, we need reassurance. Of what? That the house remains in the family, he said. Permanently. My blood went cold. You want me to sign it over? No, he said gently. We want your daughter to inherit it uncontested. I looked toward the stairs. Emily was listening. You used her, I said. We protected her, he countered. From financial ruin, from attention. From things she doesn't want to know. You threatened her, I said. We motivated her, he replied. I stepped closer. You have cameras in my house, I said. I have evidence. I go to the police, the press, he interrupted me. You go to the police and the house gets seized, he said calmly. For investigation, for years, you lose it. She loses it, I felt the trap close. You think this is leverage, I said. It is, he replied. That's when Emily came down the stairs. Stop, she said, both of you. She looked at the man. You said no one would get hurt, and no one will, he said, as long as things stay quiet. She turned to me. I'm sorry, she said. I thought I was protecting us. I took her hands. You don't protect family by betraying them, I said softly. You protect them by telling the truth. She nodded, tears streaming. I don't want this anymore, she said to him. I'm done, his jaw tightened. That's not how agreements work, he said. I stepped between them. Then this agreement ends now. He studied me for a long moment. Then he said, you have 48 hours. For what? To reconsider, he said. After that, we stopped being patient. He left without another word. The door closed behind him. The house felt heavier. Emily sank onto the couch, sobbing. I sat beside her, holding her like I used to when she was small, and in that moment I understood something terrifying. Whatever was hidden in this house was worth destroying a family for. 48 hours, that was the deadline they gave me, not to decide what to do, but to decide who I was willing to lose. The house was silent after he left, too silent. Emily sat on the couch, knees pulled to her chest, eyes red and unfocused. She looked younger than I'd ever seen her, not my adult daughter, not a conspirator, not a guardian of secrets. Just a scared child who'd been told she was protecting her family and only realized too late what it cost. I didn't know how to stop it, she whispered. They made it sound inevitable. I nodded slowly. That was the word men like Daniel always used. Inevitability. They wrapped it around fear so tightly that people stopped imagining choices. We do have a choice, I said, even if it's an ugly one. She looked at me, really looked at me. And if your choice ruins everything, she asked. I didn't answer, because the truth was it might. That night I didn't sleep. I walked the house, every room, every corner, every wall that had quietly watched us live our lives. I thought about the basement renovation from years ago. The contractor Emily mentioned, the strange insistence on sealing certain sections early. The way my wife had stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching him work like she was guarding something invisible. I'd assumed it was grief making her cautious. I was wrong. At 3:17 a.m., I went to the basement. The lights hummed on slowly, casting long shadows across the concrete. I stood there, hands on my hips, breathing in the familiar smell of dust and old paint. Then I noticed it, a section of the back wall that didn't match the rest. The texture was different, the paint slightly newer, the concrete smoother, a patch job. My heart started to race. I pressed my palm against it, hollow. I stepped back. Hollow concrete doesn't exist. I found a hammer in the tool cabinet and stood there for a long moment, staring at the wall. If I broke it open, there was no going back. 48 hours didn't matter anymore. I swung. The first strike cracked the surface. The second broke through. Dust filled the air. I coughed, swung again, harder this time. A hole opened, and behind it metal, a sealed steel box embedded into the foundation. My breath caught. I pried at the edges until the box slid free with a dull, heavy thud. It was old, scratched, labeled in faded black ink. No logo, no company name, just numbers, coordinates. I carried it upstairs like it weighed 100 pounds. Emily was still awake when I set it on the kitchen table. Her eyes widened. That's what they were afraid of, she whispered. I didn't open it yet. Instead, I did something else. I turned off the house's power. Every light went dark, every device silent. Then I unplugged the router in the attic. If they were watching, I wanted them blind. When I finally opened the box, my hands were steady. Inside were folders, old ones, stamped, sealed, classified, city planning documents. Environmental assessments, legal agreements signed decades ago, and then the photographs, black and white images of men standing in suits over open ground, machinery, barrels, buried barrels. My stomach twisted. One document sat on top, yellowed with age. I read the heading twice. Unauthorized disposal agreement, restricted. The truth came together fast after that. The neighborhood wasn't built on nothing. It was built on something people paid to hide: industrial waste, toxic materials, buried illegally before regulations existed, and the house. The exact center point. If this ever became public, properties would be seized, families displaced, careers destroyed. Not because of what we did, but because of what powerful people had done long before us. Daniel and his group weren't historians. They were cleaners. They didn't protect the past. They buried it deeper. Emily covered her mouth. My mom knew, she whispered. Yes, I said, and she chose us anyway. We sat there for a long time. Then Emily asked the question I'd been avoiding. What are you going to do? I looked at the box, at the documents, at the future they could destroy. I'm going to force their hand, I said. The next morning I called a lawyer, not just any lawyer. An environmental litigation attorney who specialized in whistleblower cases. I told him nothing at first, just asked a question. If someone discovered proof of illegal waste burial beneath their property, what happens? There was a long pause. Everything, he said. And everyone fights to stop it. That afternoon, I got a message from Daniel. Time's running out. I replied with one sentence. So is yours. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. You're making a mistake, Daniel said, his calm gone. You don't understand the scale of this. I understand enough, I replied. You watch my family. You threatened my daughter. This was never personal, he snapped. It became personal the moment you hid a camera in my home. Silence. Then, colder than before, you release those documents and your life changes forever. I know, I said. Another pause. Then he said something that chilled me more than any threat. You think your daughter's safe because she's cooperating. She is. Emily's face drained of color. That was the moment, the exact moment, I hung up. I drove straight to the lawyer's office with the box in the trunk. No more silence, no more patience. As I walked inside, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. Whatever happened next, there was no going back to normal. The lawyer didn't react the way I expected. No gasp, no disbelief. No dramatic pause. He opened the steel box, skimmed the first document, and quietly closed the lid again. Then he looked at me and said, "You're in more danger than you realize." Those words landed heavier than any threat Daniel had made. He leaned back in his chair and folded his hands. These aren't just violations, he continued. They're criminal cover-ups involving multiple agencies and private firms. If this gets out, people lose careers, freedom, power. I know, I said. That's why they're watching my house. He nodded slowly. And why they won't stop. Emily sat beside me, silent, her hands clenched in her lap. What happens now? She asked. The lawyer didn't answer immediately. He stood, locked his office door, and pulled the blinds down. Now, he said, we move fast and very carefully. He explained the plan in clipped, precise sentences, copies of everything, encrypted storage, trusted contacts only, no phones near conversations. No routines, and most important, he added, looking directly at Emily, you do not go home tonight. My heart dropped. She stays with me, I said. He shook his head. They know where you live. They know how to get in. Tonight, that house is a liability. Emily's voice trembled. They said I'd be safe if I cooperated. They lied, he replied flatly. We left his office separately, 10 minutes apart, just like he instructed. Emily went first with one of his associates. I waited, watching the street through the glass. That's when I saw the black SUV, parked across the road, engine running, windows tinted, the same one I'd noticed weeks earlier but dismissed as coincidence. My chest tightened. They hadn't lost us. They'd been waiting. I walked out calmly, my phone in my pocket, my face neutral. As I passed the SUV, the rear window lowered slightly. Daniel's voice drifted out, calm as ever. You should have taken the deal. I didn't stop walking. I told you this would move faster, he said. I turned to face him. You put cameras in my home, I said. You threatened my daughter. His expression hardened. You forced our hand. I laughed, short and bitter. You forced mine first. He studied me for a moment, then nodded slowly. Then let's be honest, he said. If those documents go public, you won't just lose your house. You'll lose your life as you know it. I'm fine with that, I replied. His eyes flicked behind me toward the building. Is she? He asked. My blood ran cold. What did you do? I demanded. He smiled. Nothing, he said. Yet, then the window rolled up and the SUV pulled away. I stood there shaking. I called the lawyer immediately. Get Emily out of wherever she is, I said. Now, but it was already too late. Emily didn't answer her phone. Neither did the associate she'd left with. An hour later, I got a message from an unknown number. We just want to talk. Attached was a photo. Emily, sitting in a car. Eyes wide, hands folded tightly in her lap. Alive, but terrified. I felt something inside me snap. I drove. I didn't think, didn't plan. I drove to the address they sent, an old office park on the edge of town. The building was mostly dark. One light burned on the second floor. I climbed the stairs slowly, every step echoing in the empty space. The door was unlocked. Inside, Emily sat on a chair. Her wrists weren't tied, no visible injuries. Daniel stood near the window. You're calm, he said. That's good. I moved toward her. Stop, he said quietly. I stopped. She's fine, he continued. As long as you cooperate, I laughed. You kidnapped my daughter. I relocated her, he replied, for her safety. Emily looked at me, tears streaking her cheeks. I'm sorry, she whispered. I tried to warn them. I stepped closer. What do you want? I asked. Daniel gestured to a folder on the table. You sign this, he said. It transfers the house into a trust. No sale, no investigation. No public disclosure. And the documents? I asked. You give us the originals, he said. All copies. I shook my head. You don't understand, I said. It's already out of my hands. His eyes narrowed. What do you mean? The lawyer has copies, I said. Multiple, encrypted. If anything happens to us, they go public automatically. Silence filled the room. Daniel stared at me, then he laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. You think you're the only one with leverage, he said. He nodded toward the door. Two men stepped in, not security, not thugs, they wore suits, government suits. This just got bigger than your family, one of them said. You've uncovered something that affects an entire region. So fix it, I said. Clean it up, that would cost billions, the man replied, and expose people who won't accept that. Emily sobbed quietly. I felt rage rise, hot and dangerous. You're willing to destroy families to protect criminals, I said. The man shrugged. We're protecting stability. I took a deep breath. No, I said. You're protecting yourselves. I pulled my phone out. Daniel's eyes widened. Don't, he snapped. I pressed the button. A single text sent. Proceed, the man lunged toward me, but Daniel stopped him. What did you do? Daniel asked. I looked him in the eye. I told the lawyer to release the first batch. Sirens wailed in the distance. Not police, media vans, helicopters. Daniel's face drained of color. You idiot, he whispered. I smiled for the first time in days. No, I said, I'm a father. The men backed away. Emily ran to me, burying her face in my chest. The sirens grew louder. Lights flashed through the windows. Daniel sank into a chair. It's over, he said quietly. I held my daughter tightly. No, The room filled with noise. Sirens outside, voices in the hallway, someone shouting orders. Daniel didn't run. He just sat there, staring at the floor like a man watching the ground give way beneath his feet. Emily clung to me. I could feel her shaking. It's okay, I whispered. You're safe now. For the first time since all this began, that felt true. The doors burst open. Reporters, cameras, flash after flash lighting up the room. Then police, real ones, questions flew. Names were shouted, hands were raised. Daniel was escorted out without resistance. As they passed me, he stopped. You think this ends it? He asked quietly. You have no idea how many people are involved. I met his eyes. I only needed one truth, I said, and you gave it to me. They took him away. Emily and I were led outside, wrapped in blankets, shielded from the cameras. The night air felt unreal, like we'd stepped out of someone else's nightmare. In the days that followed, everything unraveled. Investigations, resignations, properties condemned, entire neighborhoods evacuated. Our house was declared uninhabitable. People told me I should be angry, but I was. because that house had stopped being a home the moment someone decided secrets mattered more than lives. Emily moved out of state, started over. Got therapy, so did I. Sometimes she calls and says, I still hear the clicking at night. I tell her I do too, but then I remind her of something important. They were watching us because they were afraid, and fear means power. We took that from them, and they'll never get it back. The world didn't end the way I thought it would, it just shifted. News cycles moved on. Names were mentioned once, then buried under newer scandals, but the damage stayed. Emily calls me every Sunday now. Sometimes we talk about normal things, whether work, small plans. Sometimes we don't talk at all. Silence feels safer these days. The therapist says betrayal cuts deeper when it comes from love. I believe her. I don't blame Emily anymore. She was young, she was scared, and someone convinced her fear was responsibility. I sold what little we salvaged from the house: photos, furniture. The past, I kept nothing that could watch me back. At night, I still wake up sometimes, convinced there's a red dot blinking in the dark. But then I remember I chose to stop being quiet. And because of that, my daughter gets to live a life without secrets hidden in the walls. That has to be enough. I don't live in that city anymore. I chose a small place where nobody knows my name and no one asks questions. The kind of town where smoke detectors are just smoke detectors. Emily visited me last winter. We cooked dinner together. Burned the food, laughed harder than we had in years. At one point, she stopped and looked around the room. You ever feel like someone else watching? She asked quietly. I nodded. Sometimes, I said. But not like before. She smiled at that. Before she left, she hugged me tight and whispered, thank you for not giving up on me. That was the moment I knew I'd made the right choice. Not the brave one, not the loud one, the right one. People ask if I regret staying silent when I first found the camera. I don't, because silence showed me who was listening. And when the truth finally came out, it didn't just expose secrets buried in the ground. It freed my daughter from fear, and me from a house that was never really ours. Some homes protect you. Others just pretend to, and now, finally, I sleep with the lights off.